What's up everyone? So I just wanted to do a quick video and try and compress everything that I've done across multiple videos into one to give you almost a how-to guide to do this engine conversion into your truck. So see if I can keep this. Okay, so as we know, M57n from a BMW 530 diesel. It was a 2004 that the engine came out of with the 6-speed auto. As you can see, yeah, there's plenty of space in there. So obviously the first thing I had to do was make my own engine mounts. Now this engine was built to go in this truck. The engine mounts were very easy to do. I'll have to get underneath to try and give you a bit of a better view, but you can see the engine mount down there. Now what I did was I utilised the original three bolts for the original BMW engine mount, and I'll have to get underneath, it'll just be easier. I used you can just see it there. So I used 10mm steel plate. Most of the engine mounts are made from 10mm angle. This side is more of an angle, so you have to weld them together because it's instead of being a 90-degree angle, it's more. So yeah, that's the only one that you have to make, is this top one, and it's got 3 bolt holes in it. The 2 bottom ones and the top one on the other side are just angle, 90-degree angle, and I used Land Rover, I think they're Land Rover Defender engine mounts. And when you get the engine sitting in the right position, the mounts just line up, and you just drill a couple of holes into the cross member, and that's how they're mounted. So that's the engine mounts. I use the original BMW radiator. Now you can use the fan, but you have to buy a wiring kit for it. It's quite expensive. So I didn't. I just used an electric fan from Amazon. Let's see if we can see it in there. There you go. It's a push-pull fan. I might get a bigger one. Not that I'm having any heating issues. To be fair, I've been sat in traffic and it was like 25-30 degrees, 25 degrees, and the temperature was fine. Just sat there, no problem. Didn't even need to turn the fan on. It's only when towing up steep hills that it starts to get warm, and I've turned the fan on a couple of times on the Cornwall trip, when on the way down and on the way back with the hills, but otherwise just don't need it. Another thing I've done is, you can see there, I've got an engine oil radiator and a gearbox oil radiator, which you can see in there. So both of them are tucked behind. You see the silver one, and then you see the black one, and then you've got the intercooler underneath. You can see the intercooler there, which the rad sits on top of, and then you've got one of the oil coolers there, and the other one, you can just see it, but there, and it all fits in there, no problem at all. Plenty of space. I did have to trim the bottom of the slam panel or radiator support. Power steering, used the BMW power steering pump up here, and then had to get some custom lines made to fit onto the Ford adapters, as you can see down there, that one and that one. Most hose places that make custom hoses can do that for you. Just take them, obviously the two parts, and tell them how long you want it and make it to fit on the BMW one. Give them the bits and there they go. So that's the power steering. The reason I put the oil coolers on is because when you go to fit the engine, if you want it to sit down low, see underneath the alternator is where the gearbox oil cooler would have sat, on the side of the block. So you can't get the engine to sit down. Well, it will sit down, but it'll be more off to one side. So to try and get it as straight as possible, you have to remove the oil cooler because that gets in the way. And I didn't want to notch the cross member. Also, down here is where you can see the bolt holes for the air conditioning pump. Now, if I can get a smaller one, I could reinstall it because there is a little bit of room there, but the BMW one, it was just hitting on the cross member. So yeah, that's the things I came across. Obviously you have to make your own water pipes and intercooler pipes, but that's the original pipe which I trimmed down, and then obviously just used some hoses and some pipes. Now I've gone back to the original BMW clamps on the intercooler because it just kept blowing the clamps off when you try it, because there's not a lot of meat to clamp it onto using like a Jubilee, and when these are running 2 bar, it just blows them off. So I've gone back to the original BMW clamps. So it's got EGR and DPF have been removed and mapped out. Swell flaps have been deleted. It's had like a stage 1 tune on it. That was done by a company here in the UK. Did the ECU mapping. Any BMW place can, or any tuning place can do it, so anyone outside the UK, that won't be a problem. Now, I did get from the company's called House of Torque, and they make wiring looms. They specialise in doing them for these conversions, mostly into Land Rover Defenders, but the wiring's the same. And you know, there is a guide on how to do it and all that. And I got the wiring harness for the ECU, and I also used the gearbox one. The gearbox one removes, it just simplifies everything. You just plug everything into the plugs, and then you've got a couple of wires to add like a ground and a 12 volt positive and something like an ignition live. The engine one is a little bit more involved with what wires you have to connect to what, but it still simplifies it, because otherwise you'd have to use the BMW loom. So you've got 3 looms, the gearbox, the fueling, and then you've got all the sensors. So I think there's 3 looms that connect into the ECU. Obviously they still remain, plug into the ECU, but then you've got the body, what do you want to call it, so the rest of the car harness that you have to connect, obviously, to power the ECU. So you've got your ground, you've got your constant live and your ignition live, and then the ECU wants to see all the sensors in the car. but there is a trick. It's called a camber system, and they tell you how to basically trick the ECU into thinking all the sensors are there. It's very easy to do. It's just a resistor, so that removes that problem. So the wiring is pretty simple. It's not that expensive. We'll go underneath and we'll have a look what else was done underneath there. I don't think there's much else that needed to be done. Obviously you've got the water lines that run into the heater, and that works perfectly fine. Got the vacuum for the brake servo. That's about it. It's not that hard, and it fits in there really well. I've used the BMW 6-speed gearbox. Now I see some of the conversions and that, and you have to modify the floor because the gearboxes are so big. Now this gearbox sits in here perfectly. See, no modification to the body to get it in there, which is ideal. No cutting holes or anything like that. The only thing I did have to do was, if I can find it, so up there, is I had to drill a hole, and you'll see why in a minute. It's because that is for the shift cable for the gearbox. Because this is the earlier one, it has the cable operated shift for the gearbox. If you get a later one, they have an electronic shifter, so you don't need to do this, but you will still need the shifter because the ECU wants to see the shifter. Then you've got your gearbox oil cooler lines. That's the original shifter for the column shift, which would have gone on there perfectly after I did a little extension on here, but I needs to see the shifter. Prop shaft had to be modified, so that is Ford and this end is BMW. So this piece here, as you can see, it's been welded there. So they just cut down the Ford one, slipped it over the BMW one, and welded it together. Obviously balanced and straight and everything else. You need to put the fuel pump in. This is just connected, just straight to the original Ford pickup in the fuel tank. Fuel pump, which I've got on a switch, running through a fuel filter, and then into the truck or into the engine. Again, no big deal. There is, I ran the switch just off of ignition live. There is a wire for the fuel pump on the ECU loom that you get from that company, but I didn't use it. I just ran, switched power, so you can do it whichever way you like. As you can see, the engine mount here, so you got the bolted into the original BMW engine mount bolts, right angle, 10mm angle, 10mm angle, and then you've got the Land Rover engine mount. Got a decap pipe, and then just a straight through pipe. The gearbox mount again is 10mm angle. I mean, this is way overkill, but it'll never break, so you see it's a honking great piece. That is for the gearbox mount bushing, which sits under there, but you can't really see it because it's too dark. but it's a rubber mount. It's the original BMW rubber mount. So yeah, that's obviously rubber mounted as well. Not a lot of play in there. Let's try and have a look at the other. So this is the other engine mount. As you can see, it's right angle there, and that one is more so. I don't know what degree it is, but I just took two pieces of 10mm. What did I use 10mm? I might have gone down to 8mm for that one because it looks thinner. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it's either 6 or 8mm plate, and cut them to size and shape, and welded them together. And that's the other engine mount. And then this is still a work in progress at the moment, but it's working. You need a GPS speedo because there's nowhere to take the speedo drive off, because the BMW one works off of a wheel speed sensor, and that's what's used for the speedo. Obviously we don't have wheel speed sensors on these trucks, and you can't put one in the gearbox that I know of. So GPS speedo works perfectly well. I've not had any issues with it. That was Amazon, I think, like 30 quid. So the shifter, unfortunately I had to keep the shifter. This box is just you know, to get it going, which I'm going to change very soon. But you know, it served its purpose. Obviously you've got the shifter cable comes out, and that's why it's drill a hole in the floor. I'm going to make a smaller one, and that'll be coming soon. Now for the meantime, I just found the biggest hole that I could take the wires through, and the ECU sits underneath the box at the moment. I am going to either drill a hole or find some, well, I'll have to make it bigger because there wasn't one big enough, but drill a hole somewhere a little bit less inconspicuous and hide the wires so you haven't got all this next to your foot. You need the BMW throttle pedal, but obviously there is as part of the House of Torque loom that you've got the throttle, and it just plugs straight in. You know, no issue there. I just made a bracket, bolted it to the floor, and then this slips over it, so if you need to, there's a bolt there, and there might be another one, and it just slips off of the bracket I made. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Now again, you know, yes, you've got to have the box. Well, you don't have to have the box. If you get a later one which has got the electronic shifter, then you can mount it anywhere you like. A friend of mine's actually taken the column shifter off and he's mounted it on here, but it's a bit of a lump, you know, so you'd have to hide the old plastic crap. But if you've got centre console and bucket seats, then, you know, ideal. You can, with the electronic one, you're not restricted on where you put it, and some clever person out there could probably make it into a push button, and you could mount the push button on the dash if it can be done. I don't know, I've not explored that. But yeah, I think that's everything that you need to do or you don't have to do all of it. I didn't need to put the engine oil cooler in. You can see the sandwich plate just there on the back of the oil filter. Now I could have left it there, but I was like, do you know what, I want to put one on. So yeah, you need a long battery cable, because the starter's down this side, the alternator is on this side. Yeah, and you can't really change where the battery is, maybe, but obviously the battery tray originally is there. So yeah, just a long power cable. It's not really any way of hiding it. I mean, possibly could, but even still, I'll figure that out. Might run it around the back of the engine. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. I don't think so. Obviously you need the expansion chamber, the expansion bottle. No, I think that's it. So crikey, longer than I thought. If you do have any questions, shoot them over to me and I'll do my best to help you out. Yeah, it's all about, you know, helping the community out, and I'm happy to share anything, any problems, any solutions, any, you know, whatever you like. Just let me know.